Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Bernie and I write part-time as a food delivery writer for Deliveroo and sometimes Food Panda and Grab. So I asked you guys what video I should do next, and the one that got the most votes is the pros and cons of riding an EcoDrive 2.0. Yay! Alright, so here's my EcoDrive 2.0 right there. And since I've had it for 6 months and ridden more than 2,500 kilometers on it, I'm not going to give you the superficial labels and descriptions about it, but how it helps me in my delivery shifts and what I don't like and like about it. So a couple of things. First, Drive Bikes did not sponsor this video. They did not pay me anything. And secondly, when I decided to purchase an e-bike, this was the only one I test rode because I did not have time to go all around Singapore to test ride every single e-bike before purchasing. So all I did was choose the most popular one among the food delivery riders. And I might not know some of the features that may be present in other e-bikes that this bike doesn't have. So now you know why. So I got this bike for $1,590 from Drive Bikes, and you can check out their website to make an appointment for a test ride. I'll put the link in the description below. The tech specs are pretty basic because here in Singapore there are strict regulations that e-bikes have to adhere to. This is fully approved by LTA with an orange seal. It has a 48 volt 240 watt DC brushless motor, a 10.5 Ah detachable battery, mechanical disc brakes, 20-inch tires, and a color LED display monitor. So I bought it in November of last year when it first came out, the EcoDrive 2.0, and this superseded the EcoDrive 1.0. It came in a choice of two colors, one which is matte black, which is what I have, and the second color is glossy red. So I did not want to be too flashy when delivering food, so I opted for the matte black version. And I'm quite happy with my choice because it has the understated look to it, and the color of matte black is pretty slick. I went for the blue accents as a secondary color and added a blue bell, aluminum pedals, and even a blue S-hook. I thought a white seat would look classy, and this seat I took from my mountain bike. It isn't as comfortable as the seats you see other riders have that are big and round, but I prefer an e-bike that rides like a regular bicycle and not so much a motorcycle. So every tweak is an attempt to make it more streamlined versus bulky. I changed out the grips because the stock grips were hurting my palms when I ride, so these sponge grips from Rock Bros are much more comfortable for me. I've also added a rear view mirror on the handlebar, but to be honest, I can't see much from this thing, and it gets moved by the wind when riding, so this is pretty much useless. I just leave it on there because I think it looks cool, like a monocle. Okay, so now I'll touch on what I like and what I don't like about this e-bike. First, getting on and off the bike. As you know, the LTA is so strict about road usage for e-bike riders. You cannot ride on footpaths, outside shopping malls, at HDB void decks, bridges, etc. So you can imagine the number of times you have to mount and dismount your bike. That's why having a casual riding style frame without a top tube is definitely a plus for me. I can just hop on and off easily, and there's no need to lift my leg too high, then lose balance. Second, the controls are straightforward. Just plug and play. Power on to start, plus button to increase gear, and minus button to decrease. When you ride, you don't really need to look at the screen after a while because of this simplicity, which helps when trying to maneuver the side roads and not getting scares from vehicles bigger than you. Third, the tire size. I've mentioned before in previous videos that I like bigger tires because of riding stability, and this bike fits this requirement. It has 20-inch tires, and it makes things like riding from a complete stop at traffic lights, avoiding skids on slippery surfaces, and doing that occasional U-turn much easier. And it also gives you more confidence when doing turns and just general riding. Fourth, the torque. It kicks in very fast, just within your first pedal, and reaches the desired speed based on your gear number smoothly. So no complaints about the torque. Fifth, the kickstand. So the kickstand is surprisingly strong and able to withstand the weight of the bike, as well as when there's food in my thermal bag. I bought a main stand thinking that I needed it, but so far the bike hasn't toppled, touch wood. So when you get the bike, just know that there is no need to get the main kickstand. And finally, this is something that I discovered after riding a few times on my bike and when I had trouble trying to lift the bike. So it acts like a handle and it's at a perfect spot to support the weight at the back of the bike, which is usually much heavier. Alright, now we come to what I don't like about the bike. So first, the time it takes to turn it on. When you press the power button, the controls take about 2 seconds to start up, and you have to hold it until the display turns on. I might be a little impatient, but I just don't want to have the need to look at the screen to check if the display is on before I start off. Second, pedaling without the bike turned on is possible, but very tiring. You hear that you can still pedal like a regular bike even when your battery is dead, but it is difficult to do so, especially when starting off from a complete stop. The resistance from the motor is just too heavy for my legs to take it. Third, there is a bug with the controls that even Drive Bikes is not able to figure out the solution for, and that is sometimes when you come to a complete stop, say at a traffic junction, the controls just randomly turns off. There is no reason for this, which is frustrating. So I find myself constantly checking the display just to make sure that it doesn't turn off, because you wouldn't want the cars expecting you to go and then you can't. Finally, the disc brakes. This is by no means the top of the line disc brakes, but I'll admit that these give better stopping power than regular V-brakes. Having said that, there is a need to adjust the brake pads from time to time. I'm not sure why, and I've also experienced that when it rains, the brake pads get wet and I'm not able to completely stop the bike on a steep downhill. So it is an inconvenience, but to be safe during wet weather, I ride slower. Another irritating thing about my disc brakes are that it always squeaks. I'm sure you've heard it in my vlogs when I push my bike and it just gets so squeaky. And even though I've cleaned it with a spray, it still acts up. So I'm not sure what to do about that, but it's alright. Alright, so that about sums up what I like and don't like about my EcoDrive 2.0. You might have noticed that I left out the battery life part because I believe that any e-bike that you get, manufacturers are using that as a selling point, and you're definitely going to get an e-bike that has a decent battery life and a decent range. And the main thing about e-bike riding is not really the battery and how long it can last, but it's actually energy management, because every one of us, we have different habits and routines, and when we go on shift and off shift, it really depends on you know, how often you are able to charge your battery and how often you go out on delivery rides. So in terms of battery life and range, any e-bike is going to give you a decent amount of charge for a basic 4 to 5 hour shift. And it really depends on how many times you're on 5th gear, which is the most energy draining gear, and how many times you have your bike off versus on. You turn your bike off when you go pick up food and drop off food, and also what is the journey, how long is the journey between your deliveries, because if you go on longer journeys, it will suck up the battery life faster. And remember, a larger battery requires a longer charging time, so in the end you still gotta make time to charge your battery. And for myself, I try not to charge it overnight, even though I have a timer on, the switch timer. I just want to have peace of mind, so I charge it during the day, preferably when I'm home, to make sure everything is all right. It's really about energy management. And also one more thing to take note: when you're done with your shift and you come home, it's not advisable to charge your battery immediately. It's better to wait about 30 minutes before you charge, because the battery is running hot after like a long shift. It needs to cool down before it can be recharged, so take note of that as well. So I want to leave you with this final thought. Your bike is like your partner. When you're on the road, it's just you and your bike. So you want to pick one that is reliable, stable, not a drama mama, will not break down unnecessarily, is able to go through the tough times with you, and most importantly, is able to save your ass when you need your ass saved. And these qualities are way better than the usual, specs, description, and what it promises. And for my Eco Drive, let's take a look at him again. For my Eco Drive, I think he's all right. He's all right. We've gone through so much together in the last 6 months. I would say steep hills, torrential rains, slippery surfaces that I almost skidded, potholes on the road, and it's still working so far. It's still working. So I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful that, we've been through those times. I do hope that when you get your e-bike, you form that bond and relationship with your bike, even though it's an inanimate object. But sometimes, somehow, if you're good to it, it pays back, it gives back to you. That's what I believe. Alright, so I hope you had value out of this video, and if you do, please give it a like and maybe share it with somebody whom you think might find this useful, find this beneficial. And if you like this kind of content, I do delivery vlogs and things I thoughts about food delivery riding, and offering some tips and tricks for newbies or something that I've discovered along the way. If you like this kind of content, consider subscribing and hit the bell icon so you'll not miss an episode and you'll get notified when I post a new video. Alright, one more thing. I'm sure I've not covered everything in this video. I try to keep it shorter. But if you have other questions regarding my Eco Drive 2.0 and maybe e-bikes in general, feel free to put it in the comments below, and I'll definitely try to answer every single one of them. In the meantime, ride safe, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!